30s.
What are your standards?
Mine?
What are you looking for in a guy?
I am looking for, number one, a guy who fears the Lord and loves the Lord with his whole heart. I think that a lot flows from that. I'm looking for a guy who's ambitious and has goals and is a doer and he says what he's going to do. I think that there's a lot of, I would love to follow after a man that his word means something and I see it in action. And I think that honestly a lot flows from both of those. I think that a character in a guy, if he really is honoring the Lord and wants to honor the Lord in all that he's doing, I mean, I would respect the heck out of him. I would submit to him for sure. But it's very rare that I come across men like that I really respect.
Are there any things looks-wise, like he's got to be?
Yeah, I've got to be attracted to him, but I think that changes.
Okay.
I think that totally changes. I also think that that's so fleeting. Oh my gosh. if I'm going to choose dating a guy who's 6 foot over maybe his character, I think that that's incredibly stupid and I'm probably not ready for marriage. So, it's I think that I'd much rather choose man's character over the way he looks when I'm approaching trouble with our kids, when I'm approaching trouble in our finances and the things that we're going to experience on this earth. And his 6 foot, brown hair, blue eyed look is really not going to hold up when we're under the weight of the world. And so I'm going to marry character over that any day of the week. But I also think it's tough because you do need to be attracted. God wants us to be attracted to our partners.
Sure.
It's going to be hard to have a nice sex life when you're, oof, I don't know if I, look
it's
like
hard
you.
to reproduce with people who don't have sex.
Totally.
I get it.
They can feel it too.
That makes sense, right? It makes sense. It's hard to reproduce with people you don't want to have sex with. Attraction is a fundamental part of relationship dynamics. I'm not disputing that that's the case. But here's the thing, right? If it is the case that a lot of women, if they want to have those resources for families when they're younger, it used to be very commonplace for women who are in their 20s, early 20s, to marry men who are in their 30s. Men in their 30s, still very attractive, and end up having a lot more resources, things like this. But what's happened as a modern phenomenon is women get really upset about the idea of age gaps. They get super pissed about it. It's because they
I'm not scared.
Yeah, but it's because they don't want the competition.
I was always chasing the age gap when I was younger, so I understand.
They get upset about it because it's competition for them within their age tier, right? There's always a younger, more beautiful woman, so they get mad about that shit, right? But one thing you could do inside of the tier, if you're looking for that now and you think that men in their 20s are just playboys, look for men in their 30s who are more grounded and established. Those guys probably will do a lot more taking care of you, much more ready to settle down. And, here's the thing. This may be shocking, but as it turns out, men in their 30s really, really like to have sex with young, hot women. Isn't that crazy, right? And they also enjoy marrying them. So it's not crazy for women to be seeking outside of that age bracket.
Okay. We have a couple chats we need to get to. We have...
You missed her. She was asking a question.
Oh, sorry.
My one concern with the age gap, and I know this is weird, but simply put, I don't want a man who's been promiscuous in the past, and I feel like that happens a lot with the age gap. And I also don't want a man that's going to die a lot sooner than me, because when I'm 80, I need someone to still protect me.
Yeah, but the age gap argument, nobody is saying
That's what your
need
sons
to...
are for. That's what you have sons for. So the thing is that's, and by the way, again, the church has looked at this problem every which way. When I say the church, I mean the Orthodox Church. Here's the truth. The truth is that you're making what's called deferment. It is true that those men may die before you die, right? Perhaps even 20 years before. But you have sons. Your sons are going to protect you. By the way, the old saying goes, even bad men love their mamas. That means that even if it is the case that you raise hooligan sons, even they, you know what I mean, ain't gonna let nothing happen to mama. That's the way that works.
You can't count on having sons, though.
What's that?
You can't count on having sons, though. That's not that's not a guarantee.
If you're a person who plans on having 5, 6 children, right? You get started young. I think that you being able to count on having a son or two is pretty high. It's significantly high. But let's just say that you don't. You still have brothers. You still have cousins. You still have other members of family. Those people will also step in for that protectorate role if your husband dies early. Also, matrons in society have less to fear in that regard. If your daughters, for instance, are married, now you have sons-in-law, they're also going to help out mother-in-law, right? The idea here is that you're creating a grounded foundation for family. That's the whole point. And so it's like, it seems absurd to me, because the other thing is you can defer resources. So you can make the argument he'll be a father for less time. But by the time kids are 18, you've spent 90% of all the time you're ever going to spend with them. 90% of the time. So if that's the case, then that means you're just deferring resources and saying, well, they could also give them a way better life within the confines of those 18 years.
Can you address the promiscuity thing I said, though? Because I do not want a man who is promiscuous.
Yeah, men shouldn't be promiscuous. Yeah, that's true. But here's the thing. I'm just going to be blunt with you. Most women care far less about former male promiscuity than men care about women's.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
There's and here's the reason for that. The reason for that is based around knowing who your offspring is. So for women, the virtue of chastity, and the reason it's so ingrained in men, is because before there was paternity tests, which are a recent advent, we needed to know who was having our children, right? If they were sleeping with multiple men, you didn't know if it was your child or not. And so that's why we're hardwired against it. We loathe it. We think it's gross. The whole 9 yards. However, the phenomenon is the opposite. Oftentimes, women, if a man is a virgin in their 30s, will think he's weird or sick or has a problem or he's a red flag, because why won't women sleep with him if he's in his 30s and is staying a virgin? There's actually incentives in society for men to sleep with women that aren't there in reverse, except for the peer pressure of women. So I think it's actually, I wouldn't look, this is just my opinion, but I wouldn't look at the virtue of the man having slept with I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 former women even. I think that that's going to ultimately be less important in that dynamic than in the opposition. I know that sounds counterintuitive.
No, I
That's
agree.
how you think about it, though.
No, I agree with you.
Okay. Oh, wait, just to be clear, you're a virgin, right?
Me? Yeah, I'm a virgin.
And so are you wanting only to date a guy who's a virgin? Or?
It would be preferable, and typically members in my church do wait for marriage, but
Sure.
if I meet the right guy, standards change and stuff based off of the person, based off of their virtues and everything. Just
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think with the age gap thing, it's not, I don't think when it comes to age gaps, the argument there isn't if you're a young woman, you should or have to date older men. It's just more so countering like, oh, this is predatory on the man's part to want to date a younger adult woman.
Okay.
Or explaining reasons for it. But
did you think it was weird? I had a 62-year-old swipe up on me on a dating app. Would you think that's weird? Just wondering. 62.
Swiping on you on a dating app?
Like,
I mean, no,
likes
I don't.
you?
Yeah, he
And
likes
you're,
me.
how old are you? You're 21?
I'm 21.
That's normal.
I mean, it's a big age gap. I don't think that's. I don't think it's weird that he's attracted.
Probably a little
Yeah,
more than
attracted
most
to
people are
you.
comfortable
You're pretty.
with. Yeah.
I don't think it's weird that he's attracted to you, but like the likelihood that you're going to be attracted to him, or that's like, if you want to date him, I don't have a problem with it. But
Yeah.
Probably trying to give it a shot.
is it
He
weird?
probably tried.
it's
Shot
a
is
big
shot.
age gap. It's a big age gap.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was just wondering where the line is for
To
you.
chair 4, there was something else that came to mind as I was kind of replaying our conversation in my head here when you said that you're a member of a non-denominational church. So I went and pulled up some stats. I have the advantage of doing that. Try not to when we're discussing, because you guys don't have that same advantage. But I did want to pull this up. It does turn out that it looks like non-denominational churches are about 70% female. 70%. Oh, really? So here's a suggestion. Take it under advisement or not. Find yourself an Orthodox church, an Orthodox Christian church, because those actually are lopsided the other way, 55% men. 55% men, and join one of those. And then you can convert to true Christianity and probably find a super-based husband. Just a suggestion.
You can also look at my church if you want.
oh boy.
Or just make non-denominational churches less feminine and ugh.
Oh, there you go.
But you really can't, because the idea, and this would get into a whole thing, so I'll just make it very quick. But the entire idea of Christianity and modernity in the Western nations folds in, unfortunately, with egalitarianism, and women try to mold the idea of equality and egalitarianism into the patriarchal religion of Christianity. It is a patriarchal religion. It's always been a patriarchal religion. We worship a man, right? God incarnated as a man. So we don't worship a man. That was a bad tone of words, but you understand what I mean, right? From the top down, Christ is the head of the patriarchy. And your priest always going to be male. Non-denominational churches even allow women to be priests or preachers or whatever it is that they're called within those confines. It's an assault
Not legit
on the
ones,
patriarchal
though.
nation. Yeah, right, but it's an assault on the patriarchal nature of Christianity itself. It's a patriarchal religion.
Oh, yeah, no, that's why I agree that there are issues with certain churches that identify as non-denominational but are very unbiblical and just catering to what makes people feel good, which is everything the Bible says not to do. So, no, I agree on that.
All right. We've got a couple chats here. We have Fan I Am. Abigail, can you read these? Are you able to see it or no?
Let me see. Yeah.
All right. Here, I'll just do it. Obedience, obeying when you want to or like what's asked of you. Submission, obeying when you don't want to or don't like what's asked of you. Obedience, obeying when you want to or like what's asked of you. Submission, obeying when you don't want to or don't like what's asked of you. Oh, okay. That's an interesting distinction. Thank you, Fan I Am, for that message. Really appreciate it. Sec, guys. TTS 200. We have Klitchfield. Ask all the girls, is it possible to be pro-choice and still believe abortion ends a human life?
No.
I don't get it.
Pro-choice and believe.
Is it possible to be...
Like essentially, there are pro-choicers that will acknowledge that it's biologically a human life, but they'll think because it's not a certain stage of development or it's not born yet that you can still kill them.
So I actually looked this up because I'm pretty spiritual. I'm into spirituality, and I looked this up, and I was like, I'm about the mother's choice. I'm about the mother's life. And, I don't want her to have like a coat hanger abortion, like for sure. Like that's not okay. If she really needs one, okay, get one. But I'm going to sit here and say, I don't know the repercussions of that.
Repercussions of what?
I don't know the repercussions spiritually of a woman getting an abortion, but I would say, like, if she wants to, if she needs to, if it's in her cards to do. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We have to be fair to the super chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think you're directly answering it.
Okay.
Is it possible to be pro-choice and still believe abortion ends a human life? Well, I think this is a more conservative-leaning panel. I think most of the panel here is probably pro-life, perhaps with the exception of you. And are you pro-choice?
I am pro-choice.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it possible to be pro-choice and still believe abortion ends a human life?
It's possible. But
I think it's
can't say
possible.
moral.
It's possible, but it's very
I mean, there's like pro-choicers who are like, yeah, I know they're like stoked on it.
and they think it's
They're
very,
like, I know it's killing a baby. I'm cool. That's fucked up.
I
But
think they'll make it seem like it's not a human life, and that's their cope is to make abortion okay, is because it's not a human. So yeah, it's possible, but I don't think it's moral.
I think the
becoming more
abortion industry
normalized.
dehumanizes babies so much nowadays and stuff. It's just disgusting.
well, Lydia, we have a video from you that we're going to react to a little bit later on in the show. I think it was related to abortion, right?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, there you have a lot of videos. So, but.
Okay.
Some people get kicked out for certain drinks. There's other drinks too.
Yeah. Christ is Lord. Andrew, what sect of Christianity was the thief on the cross? The thief came to salvation simply by repentant heart through his faith. Christ alone saves, not sects of Christianity. Do you quick response to this?
Yeah, I wouldn't make a salvific claim. However, the reason the thief on the cross was saved through the faith in Jesus Christ, he also accepted all doctrines of Christ right then and there. All of them. That's what salvation meant and means today. The idea that you can have these heretics running around giving off false doctrine all the time for the purpose of everything from self-glorification to their machinations in society is the opposite of what the thief on the cross was, which was humble submission to Jesus Christ and the acceptance of all doctrines of him.
All right. Thank you for that message there. Christ is Lord. That was his username. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right.
Also, that's not good enough, right? Christ is God, right? Christ is God.
And let's see. We have, you know what we need to do? Stifler, ask everyone to rate their own. Actually, wait, before we do that, hold on. I wanted to kind of wrap up on, we spend a lot of time on this. I just had a couple things here, Andrew. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this. So Andrew, woman, the wife needs to be submissive, obey, right? But are there, and look, I know, for example, like this would be the extreme argument. If the husband says, well, I want you to jump off a bridge, of course you would agree that that would not be a situation in which a woman should be submissive or obey. Of course not, right? But
that would be irrational, yeah.
Yeah. But how far, like that's an extreme example, but along those lines of, like, what would be the strongest argument in that example? For example, let me ask you this. And if it contradicted your own worldview, so let's say you were, I'm trying to think of the best example. So you are analyzing a Orthodox man, Orthodox woman, Christian, and the wife wants to homeschool. And Andrew, my understanding, you're in favor of homeschooling. You think it's superior, right? So the wife wants, sure. The wife wants to homeschool the kids, but the husband, and I don't think that this would necessarily be anywhere near approaching a husband saying, jump off a bridge. The husband's like, no, I prefer the kids to go to public school. But the wife is like, well, no. Well, not saying no, but she's like, well, hold on. I want to homeschool the kids as the wife, but the husband's saying, no, we're going to send them to public school. In that situation, while women ought to be submissive and obey their husbands, but you would agree that the wife is right, I assume.
Yeah.
What would you say in that situation?
I would agree that she's factually correct and he would be factually incorrect.
But what would you say in that situation? What should the wife...
So I'll answer both of these questions because they're an answer to each other. God's nature is non-contradictory and unchanging. For God is the logos. Logic is also part of God's nature. Reason must comport to logic. So if somebody asks you to jump off a bridge, it does not comport to reason. And so therefore you don't jump off the bridge. This would be a sign of the satanic, in fact. It doesn't comport to the nature of God. So that's answer one. When it comes to the idea that a woman and husband could disagree and the woman can be right, this does happen. Of course it happens. Especially, let's take the homeschool example. I would even say she was correct, right? However, is what he's asking comporting with reason? Yeah, it comports to reason to say we want to send your kids to a public school, things like that. She does still need to submit to his will. Yeah. Now, in this case, you have children, you have family, you have other things. This is why I think the ecclesiastical authority of the church is so important and having a church body for support. They can still go to the body of the church to ask for assistance in making those kind of great decisions on behalf of their family if they have that kind of dispute which is going on. The church may still say you need to submit to your husband's authority, and rightfully so, but at least there's a body of support there that secularists don't even have. They don't even have it. It's like, so you already have a superior way of living immediately that secularists don't even have access to. So it's like, in this particular case, you can still go to the body of the church and ask for assistance. And this is done daily, by the way. Done daily. And by the way, inside of Orthodoxy, for instance, or Catholicism, your priest, think of your priest like an assignment to you as a spiritual father. That's what they are. Their job, all day and night, is to pray for you, assist you, help you in those big life decisions, and assist you towards the things that it is that you're trying to gravitate towards in life. And what's so interesting about it, for instance, when my father-in-law, he was literally on his deathbed, I called my priest at 3 a.m. and left him a message, and he was at the hospital 40 minutes later, right? I was like, you might have to come down here and do the last rites. I'm sorry to call you so late. He showed up with red eyes, right? It's completely exhausted, had to go to work himself in a couple of hours, right? And said, well, I'm here, right? And whatever you guys need. That is a form of structure that you don't see often in that secularists have access to. So it's like that sort of ecclesiastical authority is necessary. And I understand the conflict that you bring up, but I think still ultimately, absent that ecclesiastical authority, she does need to submit to his authority. She does.
Okay, got it.
Very well said.
Yeah, I was just curious in a situation like that where you would be like, you would side with the woman in this case, but it's not some extreme example like jump off a bridge. It's just something like that. even
Well,
then,
that doesn't
though,
comport to reason.
right? Yeah.
That just doesn't comport to reason. It has to comport to reason. Otherwise, you're violating the very nature of Christian ethics immediately.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that's just asking, like, if any time somebody would ask you to violate Christian ethics themselves, your obligation then is actually to resist.
Got it.
It's
Okay.
to immediately resist.
Okay. All right.